Hello, my name is Charlotte Reid. I'm the Assistant Head Pastoral here at Mayville High School. I'm also involved in the PSHE programme and I am an English teacher. So what I think Mayville is like is a family, basically. We all care for each other, teachers, staff, pupils alike, and we have an idea that we will achieve excellence through nurture. Okay, so my role is essentially I sort of oversee the pastoral care of the lower seniors in the school, so the year 7s and year 8s that are based in our building that's called Clarendon, one end of the road. And so I work really closely with all the tutors who are looking after our year 7s, which we call remove, and year 8s, which we call lower 4 pupils. And I also deal with any instances of bullying across the whole of the senior school. Now, thankfully, we don't have very many instances of that, but every school is going to have some, and we have a very, very clear no tolerance whatsoever policy to that. And we also are involved in the Diana Award anti-bullying programme, which is absolutely fantastic. So I oversee all of the anti-bullying ambassadors who are in the school. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of transition from year 6 into year 7, we're obviously in the position where we're a whole through school from little ones right up until they've taken their GCSEs at age 16, Key Stage 4. So we work very closely with our colleagues in the junior school to make sure that that transition is as smooth as possible for pupils who are already at Mayville. However, we obviously have pupils coming from outside of Mayville as well, and we want them to feel equally as welcome and equally as excited about coming into the senior school. And so we have transition arrangements in place for them, usually move-up days and a chance for them to meet their tutors and the people who'll be teaching them in the senior school. So it's been really important for us during lockdown to make sure that pupils feel even more nurtured if possible and even more looked after than before, because we recognise how much strain, potential strain, this has put not only on our pupils but their families, because it's been really tough. And so we've put various things in place to try and support with that. In the first instance, we've made sure that pupils still have 2 weekly tutor or PSHE sessions with their tutors, and those have not been quite as formal as they normally would have been, where people would have been following our very defined PSHE programme. We've allowed there to be space and time for people just to talk to each other about how they're feeling about lockdown and remote learning, to talk to their peers, to have time with their friends who they aren't seeing as they normally would do in school, and to have time talking to their tutors. We have also put various things in place for PSHE with a very distinct focus on wellbeing. So for example, we've actually got a PSHE day coming up at the very in the last week of term, and that PSHE day has a distinct focus on wellbeing and pupils thinking about how this time has been for them, and not only, you know, in terms of what's been difficult about it, but what positives they can take out of it as well. And we have also had Zoom calls in place and Zoom meetings in place for any individual pupils who've needed time with teachers, and there have been welfare calls home to pupils, especially if we've noticed a pattern of anyone maybe struggling to keep up with remote learning. The way that we have supported them is first and foremost through an absolutely fantastic dedicated team of staff who have been there to look after them in their bubble. And we have tried to keep their school day as defined as possible. They have their usual lessons and they sit down and they get on with the work that has been set by their teachers. A fantastic variety of work by all of the staff in Mayville. They've also been having break times and lunch times, and those have been really important times for them to spend with the handful of peers that they're in their bubble with. And they've had time to talk to us. They've had time to talk to us either as a group or as individuals about what their experience of lockdown has been like, and to, you know, what many of them have been expressing actually is it has really, really helped them to be able to be in school. And we just feel really pleased that we've been able to support our parents who are key workers by making sure that their children are still in school while they're all doing the fantastic things that they're doing. The year 10s who've come back in have had to come back in obviously in a slightly different way than they would normally be in school, because they've had to come in far smaller groups in order to ensure that we've had the 2-metre social distancing and that everybody is as safe as they possibly can be. Our year 10 pupils are coming in 1 day a week each, and that has worked really, really fantastically. They have been able to follow a rolling programme of alternating core subjects with options subjects the following weeks, and so they've been able to have time with all of their teachers, as well as seeing not all but enough of their friends and peers to have that experience of seeing people again, and just enabling them to feel that little bit less isolated, and to know that they are really going to be back in the swing of doing their schoolwork. And it just keeps them connected, I think, especially at such an important time while they're doing the GCSEs, bang smack in the middle of them. To my mind, people's mental health and well-being through all of this is the absolute most vital thing. Of course, we still want people to be being educated. We absolutely do, and we've gone above and beyond to sort that out. But if our pupils are not happy and healthy when they come out of this experience, then they can't learn. So keeping contact with their teachers through regular Zoom meetings, keeping contact with their classmates, likewise through those Zoom meetings and through our virtual Google Classrooms, is definitely one of the ways that we have been trying to safeguard and bolster their mental health and keep them well and happy and healthy during this time. It's not the only thing, but it's definitely a very big part of it, because routine and feeling like you're being productive and knowing that you are keeping up with things are really important aspects of people feeling good and positive about themselves. I think that from the feedback we have received from parents and from pupils, I'll start with parents first of all. I have had many parents contact me, as have other people in the school, with immense gratitude, saying thank you so much for, you know, all of the amazing lessons that staff are putting on. Thank you so much for the care that staff are still showing. We've been open to constructive criticism as well. And certainly at the outset of the process of remote learning, it was really important that we had those conversations with parents and found out how they were finding what we were newly putting in place very, very quickly in terms of remote learning. And in terms of pupils, I think that they have, both the pupils who are in school and the pupils who are outside of school, the vast majority have communicated that everything is going very, very well for them. It's not the case for absolutely everybody, but arrangements have been put in place for those pupils, and they have received support over and above what they would normally get, and we will do everything that we can to make sure that they are feeling positive as well. I think that what we've learnt from the situation over the past few months is that at Mayville, as a community, we are incredibly strong and incredibly resilient. Staff and pupils alike have risen to the amazing challenge of remote learning and remote teaching and all that that entails. And it's a big job when you're trying to ensure that people are receiving just as good an education as they would do if they were in school where everybody should be and wants to be. Staff have worked incredibly hard. They've done it with good humour, with pragmatism, with commitment, with some real inventiveness in the lessons that they've been producing for the pupils. And pupils, the vast majority of pupils have, you know, worked through those lessons, got involved in all of the Zoom meetings that have been put on for them, and produced some wonderful, wonderful work. I think we have learnt as well that it has been a really difficult time for some people, and whether that's just because they've been isolated from extended family, such as grandparents, or isolated from friends, which has been the case, or whether, even worse, they've lost somebody. I think what we know is that in September we will have to put support in place for lots of people. Kindness. I think that's the thing that has struck me, is the immense kindness of people. Just before lockdown happened, we actually had an inspection at the school, and we received excellent across the board for that inspection. And I think we, you know, I was particularly especially proud that our pastoral care, you know, was recognised for how caring absolutely everybody is within the school, and that has shone through during remote learning and lockdown. People have gone above and beyond to look out for each other, whether that's a pupil getting in touch and saying, oh miss, I think, you know, so-and-so is feeling a little bit sad or a little bit worried, what can be done to help, whether that is staff sending their weekly emails to their tutees, whether it's the wonderful interactions that have been going on during Zoom lessons, whatever it might be. I think kindness has, leapt out at me as the main thing. And also hard work. People are very, very committed here, both to their own learning and also to the learning that, if you're a member of staff, that you want to make sure every single pupil has access to in this school, whether they are able, gifted and talented and you need to be stretching them, whether they are one of the pupils that has more of a challenge with certain aspects of learning. Staff have, just as they do in the classroom, made sure that each and every pupil in their lessons has access to the level of work and the challenge of work that they need to make sure that they're still progressing. I think the main thing for me is that I have felt incredibly proud to work with such a wonderful group of people who amaze me and inspire me every day with the wonderful work they do and how far they go just to make sure that, you know, the pupils are happy, the pupils are learning, the pupils are where they ought to be, the pupils are having enough activities over and above their lessons to do, and that has continued during remote learning. So I would like to say thank you to the staff, first and foremost, of Mayville that I work with for being so brilliant. I would also like to give a big thumbs up to all of the pupils at Mayville. Now, I've had experience of that, certainly in my own lessons that I've been teaching remotely. They have been absolutely brilliant, and I know other staff have been experiencing the same thing: communicative, fun, putting lots of energy into their work and producing some wonderful work. And I think it's really also important to say thank you very, very much to our parents, because Mayville wouldn't work if we weren't a partnership between all of us, and the amazing support that parents have been giving to their children to enable them to continue with the remote learning programme that we have been putting in place, making sure that those pupils for whom organisation is a bit trickier, they've got, you know, people there in the background to set alarms for them on Alexa so that they know when their next lesson's happening and what have you. And also just communicating with us, saying, you know, that their child is maybe struggling in one subject a bit more, or struggling to keep up with the level of work, and then we have made adjustments accordingly with that. So it's just a really big thank you to everybody. And thanks ever so much for watching, and thank you for your time, and hope to see you at Mayville at some point.